Welcome back to another episode of the Olivia Gamber podcast. And today's episode is all about starting over and my personal journey going from 0 to $1 million in 3 years. And I will tell you, it has been one of the most intense, dramatic, and treacherous journeys of my entire life. And I don't think people really give it justice to just how much energy it takes to go from 0 to 1 million when you're building a company. And this is coming from somebody who has done it. It was my second time doing it. So I'm your host, Olivia Gamber, today. I have so much to share with you guys because there's been so many lessons. And really, I'm recording this episode for anyone who is starting over, considering starting over, or in the middle of just rebuilding. And I want to acknowledge just how challenging it is to start over, especially if you're used to operating at a high level. And here at this podcast, it's all about achieving at a high level while also being in alignment with your values. Because when you're in alignment, then you're really able to achieve your highest path because you're able to perform and sustain performance at such a high level because there's a true passion and your heart and mind are all in on that path. And so I want to start the conversation that I get asked this at least a couple times a week, even still, and it's been over 3 years. But why did you leave your business partnership? Why did you walk away from something that you poured your blood, sweat, and tears in for 5 years, and it scaled all the way to multi-7 figures per year in revenue? And, being in my early 30s at that point, it's not really common to be in that situation, but also to walk away from it. And don't worry, I will get to that in a second. But what it came down to for me was when you have a partnership, it's really tough to stay balanced because there's always going to be a lack of balance as far as effort and value. It's tough to find that equal partnership where 1 + 1 equals more than 2 and that it stays that way. So for me, it got to a point where I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. I wanted so much more significance, influence, and purpose. And I had such a massive vision that I no longer was willing to compromise wanting to negotiate what that vision was with somebody else, because we forget that those of us who choose to go down the entrepreneur path, it's a treacherous path, but it's worth it because it comes with the freedom and being able to be your own boss. And when you have a business partnership, you're not really your own boss. And in fact, you're very accountable, and it's kind of like having a second marriage. So from my vantage point, I reached a point in my journey where I knew I was ready to call the shots. I was so just driven and ready to go so much further. And when I didn't see that drive and energy matched, I knew it wasn't going to serve me to stay in that container of that partnership. And I knew that I needed to find a way out so that I could start over, but it wasn't going to be starting over. It was starting from experience. And here's what I didn't realize though, because honestly, when I finally made the decision, it was time to move on. It was one of the scariest decisions I had ever made. But I knew, and I'm not going to get into too much of the details, but I knew that I was going to feel extremely resentful if I continued to stay in that partnership because I knew it wasn't living my truth. And I wanted to be the brand. I wanted to be the voice of my company. And it was really important that it was going to be just mine. And I think a lot of what ultimately influenced that really came down to legacy. And being a Latina woman who just, it's so special to have the kind of talent and power and just be in the position that I was in with the knowledge and the experience. I knew that I had to take that leap to really prove to myself that, one, I know I have the talent, I know I'm capable, and I know I can make this happen on my own. And it's one thing to logically know that. It's another thing to take that leap and then be at ground zero, building brick by brick by brick and having to rebuild everything. And so, of course, I tried to negotiate a way to buy out my business partner. It did not work out because for the type of business that we run, it's a sales organization. You still have to continue to build a team, and it's a lot of labor. It's not like there's a lot of products and recurring revenue in place. So for our type of business, it takes a lot of energy for somebody to run that business and to get those team members to perform at a high level. So we were at a position where we just could not reach an agreement. So we had to dissolve the company. And that was really devastating. But it was the biggest blessing. I had to get out of feeling sorry for myself and feeling angry that we weren't able to make a deal. And I had to stop feeling resentful that I was having to rebuild everything all over again. Instead, what really helped me shift and get into this place where I was just so committed was I kept telling myself, I get to build my own company. I get to make it my own. I get to build my own brand that's just mine, that no one else can take from me. I get to lead and be able to fully actualize my vision without compromise to anyone. I get to do this. And so I think that's a really important step on the journey when you have to start over, because your ego is going to be going crazy, just like mine was. When you're at the top of your game and you're already at that elite level and you've got to start over, it is one of the most challenging and most humbling things to be in the mud, laying brick by brick. And I kid you not, I had so many ego deaths on the way with this because there were moments where I was just furious that I felt like I had to do things that I felt like were beneath me because I never had to do that for so long. I had a team to do it. I was able to delegate. And at the beginning, it's really, you've got to run lean because you've got to focus on being profitable and getting your offers together and getting everything set up in the systems and get everything actually working. And so that build, that first year took so much more energy than I ever imagined. And I did not expect all the work because, quite frankly, the first time that build was done, when you're building a product, you're building the marketing and the sales process, that was split up between two people. So I don't think I was mentally and emotionally prepared for just how much work it was going to take. And I don't think I was also prepared for the amount of time it was going to take to get to 7 figures, because I was in my ego. I was like, oh, this is going to be 0 to 1 in 1 year because I know exactly what I'm doing. And that's when God and the universe laughs, when you think you're in control, right? Because that was during COVID, when literally everyone's in fear and they really are slow to spend money. And there's just a lot of disruption in so many markets. There was so much chaos. A lot of the planet was just, their world was completely upside down. They were in just total survival mode, right? And so it was just a really rocky first year. And there were so many challenges. I won't even begin to get into it because, you know, when you're going through this, you've got to make really tough decisions that first year because most people don't even make it past that first year. And the biggest problem I had is that I had already been there. So I came in with high expectations and a lot of impatience. And so I brought in people too soon before I was really ready to financially support those people fully. And then I also spent money on ads way too fast. So because of my need to get there fast, I was not making the most sound decisions because I was so ready to be back to where I was. And it's the ego that wants it fast, that wants it now, right? And when you're making decisions from needing it now, it only leads to very low quality decisions because there's not a lot of time assessing and seeing the big picture and making the best judgment call for the long haul and being ready to methodically build and giving these systems and processes time to really settle in before trying to bring a bunch of people in quickly. And so those were the lessons that, quite frankly, I had to learn. And after that first year, when it was honestly a total embarrassment to me. I mean, it was a 6-figure business, but it was so far off from my expectations that I was just devastated after year one. And so I really had to look inward and I had to really get to the truth with myself because there were some days where I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I am so exhausted for how hard I'm working and the amount of money that I'm making. There has to be an easier way. And so I really took a step back and I started to really go inward, and I was realizing a lot of these reactive decisions were due to me needing to prove myself and me needing to show that I didn't need a business partner and that I was more than capable. So I was such a rush to prove myself that was impacting my business and my bottom line. And so I had to get to the point where I went to faith. And I think that honestly, this is the key point in my journey where I really got deeper into faith and started to make faith a priority. Because when you're building something and it's just not happening or it's moving really slow, you have to be able to hold that vision. You have to stay committed to the purpose. You have to have a bigger why than the money. Because if it was just about the money and proving yourself, you're going to run yourself into the ground and you get burnt out and you don't even want to do it anymore. And when you're in that energy, I kid you not, you cannot even give it away. It's all about your ability to show up, add value, and serve with no attachments. That's how you gain trust and respect, and you're able to influence people and able to grow your business. But when most people are starting out, they're so eager to prove themselves. They're overselling, over communicating, over intensifying everything, right? And so being grounded and patient and calm and center is how we consciously scale. And so year 2, I came in with a much more patience because I finally got to the decision with myself. I finally said, you know what? I'm committed to however long it takes. I'm not worried about when. I know it's happening because I'm committed. I know it's happening. And that became my mantra. It's happening. I'm committed. It's happening. I'm committed. So whenever those thoughts would come up, it's not happening. Oh my gosh, where's my P&L at? What's my revenue at? What's my ad spend at? And just like constantly comparing and measuring up and comparing to where I used to be and am I there yet? Instead, I shifted my mindset to it's happening. I'm committed. Grounding myself in the present moment and reminding myself to truly enjoy the journey. Because I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to serve. I'm here to really change lives. I'm here to make a dent on the universe. I'm here to really uplift and raise the corporate the consciousness of corporate America, because ultimately what we do at my company, Career Evolved, is, yeah, we help executives get, job offers. That's why they think they're buying. But what they really get is a deeper transformation of their mindset, how they see themselves, how they speak, their confidence. It changes their entire life, their entire worldview. And so what we do is so much bigger than just helping people get a job. And so when I really get reconnected to my purpose and I stop paying attention to comparison and judgment and criticizing, why am I not there yet? Why is it not happening? All those thoughts that are constantly circulating to, I'm committed, it's happening. And I'm so grateful for these folks that are here that I get to serve. Because here's the thing, when you're starting over, it's almost like it's crickets, right? There's no one cheering for you. There's no one in the stadium. It's like empty. It's completely empty. And you're used to having a full stadium. So when you come in there and you're like, wow, no one's here, what's the point? That's when you've got to fall back in love with the game and have a purpose, because you can't be doing it for the outside validation, or you're not really aligned with a purpose that's going to light your soul on fire. And I would challenge anyone that's going into any career path, whether it's entrepreneurship or a job, is this truly the purpose alignment to what matters to you right now? And hey, sometimes you just need to be practical and you need to focus on revenue and cash generating activities, because your biggest purpose is to provide for your family. And you don't have to just have purpose and not make money. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying is focusing on the process and your love of the game, your love of your craft, the mastery and the serving and going deeper and getting better. And that's what you want to fall in love with, that game, because that's what we control: our energy, our intentions, and our effort. That's what I chose to focus on starting in year 2 in the journey. And I really integrated a daily spiritual practice where I would meditate and pray and journal daily. My wins, what am I grateful for? So everything that I preached to my clients, I was taking my own medicine. I was reminding myself who I am and really reading 50 reasons I'm amazing. And I would consistently affirm myself and I would do the work, because guys, it's not complicated to grow a company. It's not. Business is really simple. It's conversations with people that need what you do. And the more of those you initiate, the more money you will make for your services or your product. That's just the fastest way to grow a business, is talk to people, make an offer. That is the thing to focus on. And so once you love yourself and you believe you're worthy, you stop avoiding all the things that are not actually moving the needle in you serving more people and making more money. So believe it or not, a lot of the folks out there that are just totally grinding, they don't get why self-love matters. They don't get why a gratitude journal matters. It's because when you, and I kid you not, I can be grinding from a place of I gotta get there, versus I love what I'm doing. I'm in flow. I'm intentional with everything I'm communicating. I'm getting creative as I'm doing it. I'm evolving my communication with each person. That's operating at a higher energy level. And I guarantee the more energy you put on your mindset, your perspective, and your self-talk, you're going to accelerate your timeline in business. Because we tend to overcomplicate things and overanalyze, overthink, and hesitate because we don't trust ourselves to be decisive, and we won't love ourselves if we get it wrong. So we just sit and we think and we wait and we're figuring it out and we're getting ready to get ready to get ready. When really the only thing that matters is how many customers did you talk to this week? How many actions did you take that lead to conversations with customers? How many offers did you make to serve somebody? How many offers did you make to get your product in front of more people? If that's the game, then everything else is a distraction. That's smoke and mirrors and trying to impress people. And don't get me wrong, year one, I got so caught up in that game, right? Oh my gosh, I got to make sure I do a whole marketing campaign and ads just to get likes and followers. I'm sorry, but likes don't pay the bills and likes don't lead to leads. That's not somebody that's taking a committed action to show interest in your services. So it's a complete waste of time. And yes, I get it. People want to see a lot of likes and a lot of followers. But at the end of the day, if you're focused on vanity metrics that are ego driven, you're going to go out of business because none of that matters. The only thing that matters are the actions that lead to getting more offers in front of people that can pay you. And these were some of the things that I had to learn. And I'll get to the point where I finally was getting support. And in year two is when I decided to bring in support very slowly and methodically and really got intentional about who I wanted to surround myself with. Because I knew that I was not going to make the mistakes of the past of trying to just bring people fast and make it easy and go, 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 because that was a recipe for disaster. And so for me, once I got into the point where I was bringing people in, that was another thing that I had to underestimate is the time it takes to find the right people that can perform at a high level. And this is something nobody talks about, especially if you're trying to build a sales team. You're going to go through a lot of people because the truth is most don't perform. Most sales professionals make less than $60,000 per year. So that means that the vast majority do not actually really significantly contribute to your bottom line, and they can easily hurt your profit margins if you bring in a lot of people that just do not drive results. And when you're in a sales role, you've got to be self-motivated, you've got to be driven, and you've got to be highly skilled, you've got to be really confident, you've got to be able to be present and connect, you've got to be very sophisticated, especially in my business, selling to high-level executives. It's not easy to find that identity, that profile. And it takes a long time to train people to gain that level of mastery. And so that was another thing. I just assumed everyone was going to be like me. They're going to want to proactively dial the leads. They're going to want to manage their time. They're going to want to follow up efficiently and really keep their calendar tight. They were going to want to do all the things and all the mindset habits that I did to prime my mindset before my day. And I just assumed that that was how people operate. And I knew that, I tend to just have such high standards. And so that was another thing I had to get coaching on is you cannot expect you in other people. They will never match the level of energy, commitment, effort, and passion that you bring because it's your business and that's the way it should be. And so this was one of the toughest lessons to learn because I set the intention that I am building a high-performing team. I want to work with the best. I want to work with superstars because it's my company and I want to be around people that inspire me that I can learn from. And so when I had that highest standard, I'll be honest, it means I had to go through a lot of people to get to the people I'm at right now. And I didn't expect just how painful that was going to be because genuinely I'm such a heart-centered leader. I truly love everyone that works with me. and I truly connect with them on a deep level because I really care and I really want to make sure that anyone that's representing me or any of my brands is really aligned with my values and is just a genuinely good human that wants to leave people better than they found them. And being able to get people that are so aligned values, but maybe just can't cut it in the role, it's so tough to have to let people go. But one of the toughest lessons I learned is the moment you do, it's almost a relief because it shows that you as a leader actually have standards. And I've seen it across the board because I coach a lot of high-level leaders, and the leaders that do not have standards, they're people pleasers. Everybody sticks around. Everybody's mediocre. It's just everybody's kind of lukewarm. There's not a lot of drive. There's not a lot of growth. There's not a lot of evolution. Those leaders don't get a lot of respect from their team. And no one's really excited because everybody's just celebrating mediocrity. And so when you're actually building a high performance culture, you've got to fire fast. And I call it fail fast because fail slow is painful for everyone involved. That's opportunity that others on the team who are high performers are missing out on. It's also sending a message that you accept bare minimum. It's also lowering the energy level of the team. I'm big on energy because I see how contagious it is. You've got either all these people coming to expand and there's synergy and everybody's feeding off each other and there's competition and there's drive and it pushes you to be better. We are the average of who we're surrounded by typically. And if you know you can run laps on everybody, you're not going to run as hard. It's just human nature. And so that was one of the biggest things I had to commit to, was just knowing I'm probably not going to be the easiest leader. I know I'm not. I know that it might be a little intimidating seeing that I move through a lot of people fast, but that's because I know exactly who's going to make it and who's been a fit. Now doing this for the second time, I just know so much about who's a fit, who can make it. I know how to train. I've got the systems in place. What I still did not really expect that I have to really just acknowledge is a lot of this is part of the game. Even knowing and hiring and recruiting so many people in this role and having done it at a prior company and gone through so many people there as well, I thought I knew exactly what I was looking for and that I was going to knock it out of the park. And that I knew exactly how to read people. I knew who it was going to be that was going to be the A player. And boy, was I wrong, because truthfully, it's so hard to tell who someone really is until you see them in the arena, because that's what they're doing when no one's watching. It's one thing to sustain an amazing conversation, amazing presence, amazing confidence in a 1-hour meeting where you have your best performance. It's another thing to sustain that day in and day out, especially if it's like this when it comes to performance. So seeing that resilience, seeing that mental strength, seeing the character, seeing the commitment level, it's so hard to assess that on the front end. And so I had to accept that part of the game is just, you do need to have yourself go through a lot of people in order to finally get to that solid foundation where you've got really solid players around you. And you have to be willing to call it tight, or you end up slowing down your growth, you slow down your motivation, you start pouring energy into people that it's not coming back out. And if you would have found the right player, it would be like rocket fuel pouring energy into them. And so that's one of the toughest lessons, is just having to continue to evolve the hiring and firing process, because that's the hardest part of this business. And I know so many people struggle with it. And that's why they kind of stay flat, because they don't have the people around them that are going to take them to the next level. And they don't have a way to recruit them. So those were my biggest lessons from 0 to 1. And honestly, if I could do it all over again, what I would tell myself is, as long as you're committed, you'll find a way. You just keep showing up and get 1% better every day. You just keep showing up and take one little step further. It doesn't matter how big. Some days it might be 10 steps, but just come and connect to that vision and just send one email, do one little thing that moves that forward every day. And the compound of that over time, some days that one email will turn into 10 other steps because you're in flow, you've got the motivation. And some days sending that one email feels like you just built Rome because that's just where you're at. And that's okay. It's all about consistently showing up. And I think that's one of the things that got me to break through, is that although I wanted it fast, one thing was for certain. I did show up 7 days a week and do one little thing, and sometimes a lot of things, to move that forward. So just consistently showing up for myself, for my goal. Even on the weekends, I may not be working on it, but I'm still reflecting. It's still always there. And so I feel truthfully that to get from 0 to 1, it's an obsession. You've got to be obsessed with your vision, obsessed with your dream. If it's not there and you're not totally obsessed with it, then it's probably not the right vision, or maybe you just don't desire to go to 1 million, and that's okay. Not everyone needs to do it. This journey is certainly not for everyone. It is not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of sacrifices. There's always a price to pay for success. And so for me, absolutely, the price I paid was my social life. I made the commitment. I was going tunnel vision, and I was going to do whatever it took because I wanted this more than anything. And so there were time periods where I just put my blinders on, I put my earmuffs on, and I just locked in. And there was nothing else that matters. And there has to be seasons in our life to accomplish something big. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, when's the last time? Even just like for sprint periods, I would go intense. And for 90 days, I would just be like all in, just my family, myself, my health, and my business. That was it. Just immediate family, health, and business. And I would be locked in on just those things. And I would give all my attention I could. I didn't go out. I wasn't doing anything. And the great news is a lot of this was during COVID. So it was kind of nice that a lot of places were closed anyway. But those were the things where if you just lock in and you just get obsessed for a year, 6 months even, just getting locked in, you can achieve so much growth with that kind of focus, that kind of dedication, that kind of commitment. The challenge is everybody wants to make it easy. There's the lifestyle businesses making it easy, but the truth is business is a challenge. There's so many things you need to learn and develop to become a business owner that can scale up all the way to 1 million if that's your goal. But even so, even if you just want to do other increments below that, you still need to be committed to the journey, because honestly, 0 to 10K is tough if you've never done it, because you don't know what you don't know. You've got to learn to sell. You've got to learn your market. You got to learn what your offers are, what's the product market fit. How are you going to drive traffic to those offers? What's your sales process? There's so much, and it can be overwhelming. That's why you've got to have such a big vision that you're obsessed with, so that you just keep showing up and chipping away one step at a time. Because I've now done the 0 to 1 journey twice. And wow, I'm going to be honest, next time I build a business, I'm going to be looking to acquire some things that are already done, just because I'll be honest, I don't think I would have it in me at this point now to do it again, just because it is intense. And so that's my God's honest truth. I like to just be transparent about what I've experienced on this journey. Everybody's journey is different, but being a mother of a child with special needs, it was honestly, some days I struggled to even get anything done because I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have really the motivation because I was just overwhelmed and just feeling kind of defeated some days. So just know those days happen for all of us where literally I just needed to lay in bed all day because I wasn't feeling inspired. I wasn't feeling hopeful. And instead of quitting and saying, oh, I must not be cut out, no, you just need rest. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't quit. If you know in your heart, this is your dream and you are all in with it, do not quit. Just rest. Take a step back. Take a step away from it. Get emotionally back in the game and recommitted to your vision, reconnected to it. And then you'll come back with a fresh set of eyes and ready to really climb up that hill again. But you do need the recovery built in there. And I'm going to be doing another episode on the healing journey to the top. This was more just high-level perspective on how it was done, but I believe if I didn't commit to my healing journey, there is no way I would be sitting here recording this episode right now. I truly believe you heal your way to the top because it's all the things inside here that are keeping us from really stepping up to our greatest and highest potential and what's our truly most aligned path. So I'll be sharing more next week on that, a deeper message on the real healing and evolution personally that I had to go through in order to break through financially and really get to this place with my business. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys. Thank you so much for listening.